Good morning. It's 5 a.m. here in Calgary, and other than having a wonky knee, my skeleton and I are going to walk you through 5 movements for hip and knee connection. Now, these are going to be progressively building. So we're going to start with some basic mobility, and then we're going to add some load through a theraband and connection between the hips and the shoulders. Because as we know, the hips and the shoulders are quite dependent on each other, and so we need to actually work both of them to support the other. Okay, so we're gonna start on our backs. We're just gonna begin by moving the leg bone like this. And then we're gonna move the leg bone like this. And then we're gonna add the shoulder, and we're gonna go from there, okay? So join me to have a long strap and a theraband. So here we are. We're going to start by just bringing the legs out into butterfly. Just like so. So if I go this way, it's going to look like this. Okay? So the idea here is that your leg bones literally are rotating out in the hip socket. We're not sliding the feet in. We're just coming onto the outside edges of the feet and coming back in. Now bring your hands to the front of your hip flexors. So it's like where the hip crease is. And as you do that movement, notice if your hip flexors want to get all engaged. This is not a movement of hip flexion. Yes, I know you are in hip flexion, but your hip flexors aren't actively holding you here and in like a grippy kind of way. So as you bring your legs into rotation, have the front of your hips being totally quiet. What might happen is if this movement might feel a bit too big, your hip flexors might want to control the movement as you are going down. But we don't want the hip flexors to control the movement. So just only go as far as those hip flexors are quiet. Yeah, perfect. Okay, and now let's come up and take your ankle to the knee. So bring the leg up to the sky, rotate that leg bone, place the ankle on the knee, and now move that leg wide. So now the leg bone is moving in the hip socket. It's going away from your body. Again, as it goes away from your body, the hip flexor is quiet. The pelvis is quiet. Everything above you is quiet. You're not pushing your other foot on the floor. You're just moving this lovely leg here in rotation that way. Good. Okay. Now, let's add the theraband for this one. And start to move against the load of the theraband. Same mobility, now just a little bit more resistance to push against. So watch to see if your shin or your other leg gets involved. Notice if your hip flexor wants to get involved. And keep it easy. They don't have to be involved. Good. All right, let's bring that off. And then other side, bring the leg up, rotate the leg bone, let the ankle rest on the thigh, and rotate that leg. So watch if your pelvis wants to shift as you do this movement. Watch to see if the front of your hips want to get involved. Notice if you want to hold through your jaw or your ribs or anywhere else in your body. And know that the movement is simply just your leg bone moving in your hip socket. That's it. Okay, and then if you want to add more resistance, then here's the theraband and go for it. All right, lovely. Okay, now from here, let's take the strap off, or the theraband. We're going to grab your buckled strap. So this is a long strap. You can always use a shorter one, but the longer one tends to be a bit better. This is about 6 to 8 feet. And then we're going to take the strap in the foot in the strap. Okay. So now from here, we're going to do this. So the idea is that your arms are pulling your leg up and your leg is pulling your arms down. So I do you from this angle, this is what it looks like. Okay, now let's go to the other side. Other foot comes in, and up you go. So just check in with your breathing. Check in with the smoothness of your arm bone and the shoulder socket. Okay, lovely. All right, so now let's add some resistance to that. So now what you do is you take your theraband and you're going to bring a little bit of a knot into the theraband. We're going to do the same thing with the theraband. So we're going to take that theraband around the foot. Actually, no, we're not. That was a lie. Hold on a sec. We're going to be putting the theraband around the foot and then anchoring onto the floor. And now we're moving the arms overhead like this. Okay, and then switch your feet. And the angle of pull of that theraband is going to impact how this feels through your body. Okay, now we're going to go to that one I was going to do a moment ago. Okay, now with this one, I'm actually going to switch my feet because I want to show you something. We're going to be taking the arms up and pulling the leg up, and then the leg's going to pull the arms down. But what we're also going to do is add the leg, this, like the first exercise with the leg coming into rotation. So there's going to be some coordination pieces to this. So we're taking the arms up, and the leg is going to rotate out. Yeah? So using the theraband makes things perhaps a bit more unstable. Notice if you want to grip or brace, and just how this coordination works. There's not an exact right way of when the leg moves wide, so just play with it in your own body. Okay, and then switch sides. Okay, and then let that come down. And now, having done what you've done, just rest back and notice what is going on in your body. If you would like, you can come back to the very, very first exercise we did, which is the butterfly, and notice the distinction. if there is one, in how your legs are moving, or how your back is feeling, or how your SI is feeling, or how your shoulder girdle is feeling, or how your breath is feeling. Notice the impact of those 5 movements on your body. And so you may have just gotten a glimpse of what it feels like to have a reduction of pain. For some of you, you might now have some freedom in through your SI, your back, or your foot, or your knee, or your hip, or somewhere between your shoulder blades. And the thing is now I want you to really notice that. Whatever that experience is, recognize that that's a glimpse of what can be. If you've had a reduction in pain or strain, that means you can have a reduction in pain and strain. If you had an eradication of pain, it means you can have an eradication of pain, okay? So take that as a glimpse, and as you take this into the rest of your day or into the next practice that you're gonna do, pay attention to these connections and see how they feel as you practice, alrighty? You have a really, really great rest of your day, and we will see you tomorrow morning. Mwah! Take good care.